Yeah. Well, you can suspend us, oddly enough. And they do.
Oh. Are you finding the pool? Well, you find it in the pool, you throw it out, and then it sits there for a while. You're like, hey, Chris. The Band-Aid was this. And what is on this way?
Huh. Hey, there's the new one. They got the new poster up over there. Was there an official unveiling? When they pulled the sheet down and everything? The new poster that's on.
Now being 10 o'clock, I'll call this policy and governance meeting to order. All three offices are represented. Notice of this meeting was posted on August 12, 2022. Discussion of possible action regarding approval of minutes for July 19th.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Under item 2, we do have a citizen asking to speak. Mr. Pettis, if you want to come to the microphone. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is John Pettis, 1208 Northeast 55th Street, Oklahoma City. Phone number 405-641-7566. I'm here today to ask that this committee set aside $50 million for housing-related assistance, small business, nonprofit assistance, mental health and public health assistance, job training and workforce development out of the ARPA funds that's available. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe we can respond since to a specific item. Is that correct? So, Mr. Pettis, your timing is perfect because you may not be aware, but at our last meeting, we asked our consultant to begin to develop a plan for community interaction as to how we might use these funds in the community. And I think today we're going to get a report. And so your request is well timed. And I hope the committee will do like we did with ARPA or with CARES, and we'll get money out in many areas like we did last time. So you should be able to hear their report here shortly on what they're recommending in terms of community engagement.
Under item 2, we'll go ahead and look at community engagement proposal. If the consultants are ready to speak on that.
Yeah, I would move we've received the document that's been provided.
Second.
Yeah, good morning.
Motion is second on the document receiving. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And y'all have printed copies of that in hand now. Nicole's going to walk us through that.
Good morning.
Morning.
It's nice to be here with you all. So as a follow-up report to our report last month regarding the ARPA allocation trends and the recommendations in terms of the continued discussion over the proposal funding, we've prepared an analysis here that I understand that you all have copies of. And we're going to walk through really what we are proposing to be a dual-channeled approach to engage the community through multiple sessions of town hall style community forums, and then also developing a survey approach as well. So you'll see in the copy of this analysis here, we start with a general executive summary, which really highlights, again, the dual-channeled approach that we are recommending. The community forums will consist of 3 distinct sessions, so 1 in each district that, of course, will be set geographically according to the location of each district. Each session agenda will be identical with excuse me, a portion devoted to educating community members about the SLFRF and ARPA funding, and will be provided in a structured town hall style setting where we will take questions and comments from participants within the community. And then this second portion of the community engagement that we are recommending is this survey portion, which the survey will serve as a tool to collect additional input from community members who perhaps might not be able to engage in person in these town hall style sessions. This initial campaign will inform continued program design and promote alignment to community priorities. And then, of course, additional sessions of these town hall style sessions that we're recommending, and then also additional surveys will be implemented as more topic-oriented based conversation arises from these initial outreach proposal. And then moving on through the report, you'll see that we do highlight Treasury guidance in compliance and reporting from Treasury. They do have a section specifically related to community engagement efforts where they make recommendations and set parameters in terms of state, county, and city participation in regards to the community engagement efforts. And then moving on, this is where you can see that we really dig into the analysis and pull together examples and data, again, similar to the report that we presented last month, where we analyze trends, where we're seeing community engagement efforts, again, on a state, county, and city level across the nation. And we are, of course, happy to dig into any of these examples that we've provided here. We've hyperlinked each one so that you have really a deep dive into what some of the comparable counties across the nation are doing within their community engagement efforts. And then again, we also touch on city highlights and state highlights as well. And then moving on, you can see our engagement proposal, where we really start to break down exactly what the definition of these community forum town hall style sessions will look like. We are initially proposing 3 separate sessions, again, within each distinct district that will roll out in potentially September and October of this fall 2022. And then we will be recommending topic areas based, again, on the distinct areas based on the district location. We mentioned here in part 1 of the initial session, we will discuss really an overall education and background of ARPA funding, what qualifies for ARPA funding, and we'll talk through some of the compliance requirements and also present additional resources for community members who will be in attendance. And then part 2 of the town hall style sessions, that's really where we'll move into the public input. So we'll be asking for ideas and comments from the audience. We will also be providing questions and prompts for community members. And then we will also be providing an opportunity for those in attendance to submit questions prior to the community engagement forum, and then of course take questions live from the audience during the session. Now, within these recommendations for these initial 3 sessions, which we are of course highlighting that perhaps there'll be an opportunity to join virtually as well to make sure that we have as much of an attendance as possible from community members, we are proposing perhaps based on certain topics within the district that will help guide some of the specific questions and also perhaps conversation. So that actually is stemming from some of the analysis that we presented last month based on specific set of different topic areas where we have identified a very high need specifically within Oklahoma County. So just to touch on those, housing and homelessness, public health, broadband and infrastructure, arts, culture and tourism, education, workforce development, and then public safety and justice. So that's just an idea of what is being recommended in terms of perhaps 1, 2, or a combination of a few of these in terms of the topics that will be presented and discussed for feedback during these community sessions. And then I had mentioned that this is really going to be a dual channel approach. So that second part here of our community engagement will be rolling out a community survey, which we have recommended to be titled the Countywide Priorities and Ideas Survey. And this is really an opportunity, again, to collect additional feedback from community members, which will really help us to improve the ability for yourselves as the county leaders to make data-driven decisions about where to invest the remainder of the SLFRF funding within Oklahoma County. So moving on through this analysis, we provide a sample survey, keeping it rather concise, asking for basic information, and then providing approximately 4 to 5 questions for feedback from community members. And we expect that this will roll out during the same time period of our town hall style sessions. Over a 2-week period, this survey would be present in its initial phase, and then if it appears that we need to collect additional feedback, we will again have another perhaps 2-week period this fall where we'll be able to collect additional feedback via this survey mechanism. So the next steps here after today would be to continue our discussion, of course, in terms of the planning of the logistics and details alongside yourselves, in terms of the venues, the proposed schedule for this fall, the participants in terms of making sure that we capture as many of our community members as possible to be present during these sessions and to participate within these surveys, and then also to work alongside you and your teams as well in terms of the promotion and the messaging of these town hall events and the rollout of the survey, and then working with county IT in terms of some of the website mechanisms. So I will pause there, and I welcome any conversation, any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Well, for one, thank you very much for putting this together. I'm glad that we're moving in this direction. With regard to this survey, I was thinking, a lot of that we do online, but are there communities that have expended funds to do this, to reach out via the U.S. mail? Because there are households that don't have the ability to respond to surveys. I'm just curious.
We have not seen that it surface in any of our initial data, but we can definitely go back and check on that. Within some of the data pool examples that we have within this report, we do actually pull in specific survey options that, again, they were delivered in a digital format, but we have not discovered any that have been delivered via mail, but certainly something that, again, we can look into further and perhaps might be a very sensible option for Oklahoma County.
And then I'm assuming that at these public listening sessions, this survey, whatever we ultimately end up with, would be available there in print form.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. And with regard to those meetings, kind of what is, usually I would think that what we would do is, rather than the entire committee being present in District 2 or District 3 or District 1, that it would just be made, possibly, if you saw usefulness in it, a representative from that district at that meeting. Is that kind of what you've seen?
Yes, that is absolutely what we have seen, both on the county and the city level in terms of these town hall style gatherings. But again, we would absolutely work alongside you and your teams if you would like to have perhaps someone there within each district in representation.
Okay, and you mentioned it kind of as a result of these initial meetings, having follow-up meetings. But one of the things that at least I'm particularly interested in is getting into communities that have been disproportionately impacted. So those that have specifically identified, whether by census tract or, can't recall, the CBDGL, they're usually the same, but perhaps even having an additional meeting within those communities as well. Is that okay?
Yes, we are initially proposing this set of the 3 first, again, within each distinct district, town hall style session, but we absolutely are anticipating that there will be additional forums that certainly we can, again, work alongside you and your teams to make sure that we are providing the most thorough opportunity to reach as many community members as possible.
Okay. And then in terms of what you've seen and looking at some of these sites, are they typically public libraries? Kind of what is, so that we can begin to help you identify within our areas?
Thank you. And we also have a bit of a short list actually that we're running that we'd love to work alongside you to just kind of hear your feedback in terms of these locations. So
Okay.
yes, public libraries, community centers, really an opportunity within the community to have it be as inclusive of a space as possible. Again, to have as many community members gather. There have been fire stations in some localities that they have used that have large gathering spaces. But again, we are certainly open to any recommendations and suggestions within your distinct area within the district.
I would just add too that accessibility is important to consider too. If it's open to public transit or
Yeah, I saw
space
that
that's
in
easily
here, and
accessible.
I thank you for that reminder. It's important. What do you need from us today to keep moving forward? I know you mentioned working with IT. What else do you need from us today?
Yeah, we kind of outlined the next steps at the bottom of the document, and just sort of looking for P&G direction. If this is if you agree with this proposal and these initial steps, we can set those in motion and start working with you to really work out the kinks of or the details of planning these events and the survey itself.
I'm ready to proceed. With regard to something you mentioned on the promotion, I might suggest that what we consider doing is a joint press release from the three offices. Once we've got the dates and times set to help promote this, obviously getting it on our website. And then if there are other means of reaching out that you think is necessary, but at least at a minimum, the joint press release.
Yeah, we kind of allude to that too, where we want to access whatever existing channels you have to communicate with the public, and leverage those as much as possible. And if we need to get into the county's social media or what have you,
Right.
we can work with that.
What is the earliest you think is a reasonable time frame to begin these sessions?
At this point, we're really thinking October is probably the most reasonable, just to give us time to both plan and then also a period where we're promoting and give a reasonable time frame for people to learn about these events and make plans to attend.
So I would move that we accept their recommended next steps. And that would include them working with the various offices, our respective offices, to identify possible locations in each district. That they would develop a schedule for these meetings to start no later than October 1st, that we would be out in the public by October 1st. That you all continue to identify the participants that might be needed for this meeting. That we do a joint press release once the dates and locations are identified, and probably each week thereafter, just a reminder that we're doing this, that we utilize the county's webpage, and that the individual offices, whatever social media they might have, also promote these. and that we instruct our county IT department to work with the consultants to develop the necessary survey as well as any IT-related infrastructure that would be necessary for the meetings. I'm assuming they're videoed, et cetera. You mentioned possibly streaming them. So,
Yeah, and yet another thing we can work with you on if you want it to be recorded, if you want it to be streamed, we can come up with a plan for that.
okay. All right. So that's my motion.
Including his comment. All right, I have a motion.
Go ahead, I wasn't even really.
Oh, well, I heard it, and I'll second that motion.
I gotta push my button.
Now, if it got dictated somewhere, we're good.
October 1st for a deadline of a plan
No, October 1st to start the sessions.
to start the
We'd
session,
be ready to start the sessions by October 1st. Obviously,
and then we would be implementing probably 30 days after there. Or
as soon as
some semblance of that they could,
soon as locations and schedules allow, but that we'd be in that position by October 1.
Okay, motion and second on the floor. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Thank you for this.
Thank you.
All right, anything else under item 2?
I think they have their weekly status report that.
Okay, so item 3, project status report.
Yeah, just as some high-level updates on the project status. We submitted the U.S. Treasury reports that were due July 31st. That included the quarterly performance and expenditures report and also the annual recovery plan performance report. So that went well. We just presented on the community engagement proposal that you have in hand. We've been working with the committee members on developing a standard formula, for lack of a better term, to distribute premium pay, as we've talked about, in kind of a standardized way across county departments to resolve some of the conflicts that might lie there. So we have a good calculator in place. We're able to model some different scenarios, and we can play with the numbers a little bit to see how it shakes out. So we'll continue to work with you on that. And the payroll and benefits space, we've been working with requesters who are requesting for this provision. Again, this is about reimbursement for payroll and benefits for public safety, public health, and social service workers. So we're getting requests here from, in particular, the Sheriff's Office, Juvenile Bureau, and the Detention Center. And sharing around a memo on kind of the breakdown of this provision and how it's a two-step process, identifying the eligible workers and also assessing the portion of time spent responding to COVID-19. And so we're working with the departments on that latter point and trying to come up with what that assessment looks like. So that's also in progress. And then otherwise, today we're going to go through the remaining proposals that are in the P&G court, those that have been requested, but not yet submitted to BOCC for recommendation. And we've got quite a few to get to, so don't want to hold us up to get to that. And if any other questions or concerns we can talk to?
So after what was approved yesterday, which were 16 items, out of, I believe, was 97 projects, 98.
So that's the numbering system. Some of them are the test projects in the system. So there's been 65 total.
I'm going to ask you to come to the mic, please.
So I know sometimes you guys will see our numbers get relatively high. You'll see the 95 number and things like that. Part of that is because there's been test proposals that get put into the system to make sure that the form is running correctly, or that IT wanted to do a new development in the portal. And so they run a test on that, and that's why the number looks inflated. There's 65 proposals submitted to date as of the 12th. We've received 2 since then. We received 1 on Friday, and we received 1 yesterday. They are not yet in this presentation because we just received them. Both are from the detention center.
So we're at 65 projects that we have not made a decision on? Is that what you're saying?
That's right, yeah.
So that ask is at what amount of dollars are we at?
So the total amount currently requested that has not been either archived or approved by BOCC is at $99,798,515.
And some of these 65 projects, they have been presented to us before?
Yes. I think all but maybe 1 or 2 since last month.
And then, so the 2 that were presented Friday and yesterday are not in that 99 million figure. What's the ask for those 2 projects?
Oh, I don't.
Yeah, I'd have to. I'm sorry, I was out on PTO. I'd have to log into the portal to see the request. I don't know their total number, but they are both from the detention center, so I can log into our portal and look.
Yeah, we'll have time if we're going to review 65 projects today.
So the 65 is the total number of projects. You guys have already approved some of these. I think there was a little miscommunication. You guys have already approved probably about or archived about half. So we probably have about 30 proposals. And you guys have seen all of them except for maybe 1. And I think I did update all of you after P&G last week that one of them is from social services. And we're excited about that proposal and don't see any issues with it. It's nothing to be concerned about in regards to eligibility. So that would be the only new one you guys haven't seen aside from the 2 that I haven't seen.
So out of the 65, we're needing to review 30, and that total is $99,798,515.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry, apologies on the 65.
Okay. Well, do we start going down the review list? Do we categorize them? There's some that have been reviewed that we're waiting for more information.
Yeah, so currently, just like last time, they're in numerical order from when they were submitted. We do have a couple that are still in the review status because we are working with our county partners and office contacts to get supporting documentation. My recommendation would not be to consider them at this time, not to reject them, but to work towards the other county proposals with the caveat that those are things that are still on the table. And that's really just going to be the salary and benefits and the premium pay. Just something that we can continue the conversation on, but we are still waiting on documentation, but have had good conversations with departments.
And I should have pulled this up earlier. So 26 are ready for P&G consideration today. 8 are still in what we call triage. Those are the ones Danny was just alluding to for premium pay and payroll and benefits. So we can skip over the yellow ones if that makes it easier and stick to the purples.
Just because it has its own line item or agenda item, is the Emergency Management Communications Project one of the projects to be reviewed?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes, do you have a presentation for that today? I guess whichever item we need to move to, let's go ahead and move to item 5. And then what project number is that?
Just to help me out for a second, the presentation that's on the screen, what is the date of that? I have 3 different things I printed out from you all.
This is the most recent one. I believe that it wasn't, the last update on it was August 5th because we hadn't seen any new proposals since then.
Okay.
But up to date, as I said, except for the 2 proposals we just received,
Yeah.
which we wouldn't have had them on by Friday afternoon, either way.
Mr. Barnes, the floor is yours.
And we're now on item 5.
Correct.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, and thank you for this opportunity. I'm representing the Oklahoma County Office of Emergency Management Communications Project. I've given you a couple of documents, if you want to accept those before I go forward, or
Motion to receive. Oh, we're still showing we're on item 2, apparently. Sorry, Michaela.
Under item 5, we're receiving documents. Now I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
thank you. The larger of those two documents is something that Mr. Comstock put together that I think is very helpful. Unless you have specific questions, I'm not going to drill into it at all, but we can certainly entertain any questions that you have. It's basically frequently asked questions about the project, how we arrived at our recommendations, the benefits of that recommendation, and information. A lot of it's geared towards the recipients in the field, the fire and the law enforcement agencies. But it's got some really good information. John did an excellent job with that. I think it's very helpful in the project. I want to focus initially on the one-page cost summary that Mr. Comstock pulled together, and we worked and got you some numbers here. I know that's kind of the meat of the project. First item there is under hardware components, handheld single-head mobile radios for fire departments and some dual-head radio equipment for command vehicles. And you see 2.36 and another 104,000 for the dual heads. And there's some specific information there as to actually what those are. 225 multi-band handhelds, 125 dash-mounted mobiles, and 12 dual-head mobiles, again, for the command vehicles. Dispatch consoles, obviously, any radio system for field use is going to have to be connected back to communication centers and the consoles, and you see 2 installations there. 2 of these consoles are for the county emergency operations centers, and 5 of these consoles are for the communication center itself or for dispatch. And notice that is an estimated quote. We are quite comfortable using that number. John has had several conversations with Harris in regard to that. They've yet to give him a specific to the penny quote, but we are comfortable with that. One-way pagers for fire department alerting. As you know, a lot of the fire rescue departments in Eastern Oklahoma County are either all volunteer departments or combination departments where they have volunteers as well as a handful of paid personnel. Many of those departments, particularly the all volunteer departments, utilize a paging mechanism, even old school style pagers, to notify responders of an incident or of a request for assistance. And these pagers, $83,000 for one-way pagers. These are not radios; these are simple pagers, so that they can have notification. That keeps us from having to put a radio in the hand of everyone for that notification, for that alerting. It's a very low cost tool they are currently using. Subscriber fees, our recommendation is to go, as we've discussed previously and on several occasions, as the Sheriff's Office has done and as some of the law enforcement in Eastern Oklahoma County has already done. Our recommendation is to utilize the Oklahoma City trunk radio system. And there's a lot of reasons for that. You'll find a lot of that information in the frequently asked questions, and we'd be certainly happy to address any of those questions or concerns also. They do have subscriber fees on a monthly basis. You will see a grand total of the subscriber fees. That's for the fire department and for law enforcement through the life of the grant through fiscal year 2027. Final item is installation fees. That is to put the mobile radios in the fire department units only. Law enforcement on the east side is already operating in trunked radio systems, and installs are not necessary there, but you see $28,000 for install into fire apparatus. That is also based on quote from the city of Oklahoma City, because it is going into their system. That's one of several methods that they use to maintain accountability and to help ensure the credibility and the integrity of their systems by doing the installs themselves, as opposed to parsing it out to a third-party entity or having the departments do it themselves. Because, as you know from all three of you operating with heavy equipment and those type things, you can run into a wide range of install issues with a piece of equipment. And the project total is $243,620. I would entertain any questions.
Okay, David, make sure I kind of understand.
Yes, sir.
We would buy the radios.
Yes, sir.
They would be on our inventory and listed in the annual fire agreements. Is that correct?
That is correct.
We would then reimburse for the first 3 years municipalities or volunteer fire departments service fees. Is what you're recommending?
Yes, sir. Our recommendation is that the actual user agreement with the city of Oklahoma City be established between each of the individual jurisdiction. That way there's a direct customer-provider relationship. We're not in the middle. If the customer, one of the fire rescue or the law enforcement agencies has an issue, needs some assistance, needs maintenance, whatever, they go directly to the vendor or the provider as opposed to coming through us and having a bottleneck. Our proposal is to put that in place on a 1-year basis. We would like to see this jump started for January 1 of next year. So we would have a half fiscal year and then do complete fiscal years through the end of the grant period, and have those agreements in place so that, again, those jurisdictions would have that one-on-one relationship, and then we would just reimburse, hopefully on an annual basis, to reduce paperwork.
And then equipment upgrades, et cetera. Once you have the agreement with Oklahoma City, there's not an additional cost for equipment upgrades. Is that correct?
That's my understanding. This is turnkey.
Yeah. I thought from when the sheriff's office moved that,
Yes.
that was one of the big selling points.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. And you have, and we have, the county has historically provided assistance to all of our jurisdictions in
Absolutely.
the fire area.
Yeah, the reason that I would throw in here, the reason Deer Creek is not included in this, which is one of the departments we work very closely with in the Northeast area, they are already on a trunked radio system, and they have agreements in place with the city of Edmond, and it's also built in with Oak Cliff and Southern Logan County. They have a very strong, very effective system out there.
And one of the reasons also for this is interoperability. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Right now, we have departments that can't talk, and it's really a life safety issue, not only for the public, for those that are responding. Is that?
Mr. Blau, it's a huge life safety issue. Not only can they often not communicate with their same discipline, they can't communicate across jurisdictional boundaries. This project would allow all jurisdictions to communicate across not only jurisdictional boundaries, but disciplinary boundaries across law enforcement, fire rescue, EMS, and emergency management.
Okay. Unless y'all have questions, I'm ready to move a recommendation of the BOCC, especially given that this not only is a quote county project, but it has wide-ranging impact in the community that not only us, but our jurisdictions serve. So I'll move recommending the BOCC approval of Project 10066, the Emergency Management Oklahoma County Radio Project, an amount not to exceed, I'm going to go up a little bit, David, just round it up to $4,400,000.
I'm happy to second that, but so how does our coverage, and
Yes, sir.
our dead sites,
Yes, sir.
our dead zones, will this remove those?
This will not guarantee 100% coverage, but the city of Oklahoma City system is far and above any of the other available options. It far exceeds the VHF capabilities that are currently in place. It exceeds the OQWIN, which is the state trunk radio system coverage. It is absolutely phenomenal coverage, propagation. In fact, John and I met with some representatives from Oklahoma City Radio Shop last Friday, and they're talking about enhancements they're making now. They're going to spread it further south and east, well beyond Oklahoma County boundaries, which is one of the advantages that the sheriff's office enjoys as well.
Right. So what can we do to get rid of is there anything we can do to get rid of our dead zone?
I'm not sure which specific zones you're talking about.
Any of them?
Yeah, to get rid of those.
Most of them in eastern Oklahoma County, right?
Exactly. The Hogback Ridge is a big
Uh-oh.
issue.
Here comes trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can just tell you that since we've transitioned over and since the city has expanded or built their tower
Out there
way
on the
northeast,
ridge, yeah.
I guess there's a ridge between that.
Yeah.
that is
Right there about
historically,
the fire station.
Yeah, we haven't had any problems. We have
Really?
great coverage. It's like they said, to put it into layman's terms, it's built on a handheld, and my handheld works everywhere I've been in the past year since we've transitioned. And we have nothing but good things to say about it.
That's great.
Key point he brought up, it's built on handheld coverage, which greatly increases in-building coverage. And as we know through COVID and even other outside of COVID, you're looking at 80-90% of the calls for service that are received out there are medical in nature, which typically, not always, but are typically indoor.
Yep.
And that propagation, Hogback Ridge is what you're referring to. Oklahoma City Fire Station 4 has a relatively new tower site, and coverage has been phenomenal.
Excellent.
And, you know,
Pitch button.
I still have item 2 up. Are we good to go?
I got 5.
David,
Sorry.
when you referenced
It's showing up right there, so that's good.
life of the grant, are you referring to these dollars from ARPA?
Yes, sir.
Okay, when you look at this total package, are there other grants out there that you can request that can supplement this package?
If you're referring to the ability to have the subscriber fees continuing beyond, is that kind of where you're going? Or there's a big issue about supplementing federal funds with other federal funds that is typically prohibited. So
Well, but then I heard ARPA we can stack. Is that just within ARPA dollars we can stack? Is that?
I don't know what you
ARPA,
realized.
they actually, with the ARPA dollars, they actually, what am I looking for?
You
They
can
push you towards
utilize ARPA as matching money in certain instances with the feds, I believe. And the strongest prohibition against that, I think, is related to money from FEMA. Is that correct? As I recall, but.
Yeah, so you can use ARPA dollars, say like the state wanted to use part of their ARPA dollars and then the county wanted to use part of their ARPA dollars. You can do that in conjunction. You can use the ARPA dollars for the next several years on this project as well, just because the project has been implemented. If it's got an ongoing service fee, you can still use ARPA dollars on that as well until the given timeline. But yes, you can partner with the state, you can partner with other counties that have ARPA dollars, and you can stack in that way because you're agreeing to work on it together, and cross coordination and collaboration is highly encouraged.
Encourage, that's the word I was looking for. The feds encourage us to use multiple sources.
Well, and you know, Miles and Michael, the radio issue in Oklahoma County for our smaller jurisdictions has been something that's been very tough, and this is one means in which we can assist those smaller jurisdictions. So,
Well, especially, I mean, it's long existed in eastern Oklahoma County. I know when
Yep.
the sheriff's office lost their radio wizard or whatever he was. It was an interesting system that Mr. Comstock got to take over, we'll say. We've had multiple proposals come in. We even had private investment look at creating a system out there. I believe it was Potawatomi Nation or something, one of the tribes. Nothing's come to fruition. This will solve that issue for a long time going forward. That's why I think it's a very worthwhile project for eastern Oklahoma County. And now that all 3 districts actually represent eastern Oklahoma County, I'm more than happy to push this along.
Mr. Blau, you mentioned interoperability. This also gives the capability to tie in what's called state mutual aid or SMA and regional mutual aid or RMA on the trunk systems, and actually gives them most of the continental United States.
good. Well, I
then-
appreciate you and Mr. Comstock working on this. I like myself. I think it's going to be good. So my motion was to approve recommending this project to the BOCC in an amount not to exceed 4.4 million.
The motion and second. For the emergency communications project, not to exceed $4.4 million of ARPA dollars. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Thank you.
And since she's here and I don't want her to wait anymore, if she doesn't have any projects under our 30 items to review today. Item 6, discussion possible action regarding update to burial and cremation program policy. Hello.
Morning. Thank you. This is, do each of you have the copy of the old and the new or the proposed policy in front of you, or do you need me to give you that?
Is it attached?
Is it exactly what's attached?
Yes. Anybody need it? Okay. The policy updates, many things are just for readability and simplification, but there are two main changes that we needed to go through with you. The first being, it deals with preterm infants. And to give a little bit of context to this, in the early 90s, there was a situation where there was a very large number of preterm infants who spanned every stage of gestation, and they had been in storage for a very long time. So a question came up as to how to provide service for all of those infants. So part of that being discussion with the county as to which parts of how does this fit within what you can do. So from that situation, working with our legal department, we determined, okay, here's where a line can be drawn for where the county would begin with which ones would come through the county for service. And at the time, that was established at 24 weeks gestation. It was based at that time on viability, and that's where that was. And then several years down the road, there were some changes with what's reported how and gestational age and different types of certificates issued. And the gestational age went to 12 weeks. So we looked at where to go from there with that, and what was determined was to go with a policy of what if a death certificate was issued regardless of gestational age. So if it's prior to 12 weeks or longer than 12 weeks, if a death certificate is issued, then they would be serviced through the county. We're not talking about large numbers. It's a small number, but anyway, there arose an issue with the ME's office where they had a couple of infants who did not fit those parameters, but had come to them from the hospitals, and they wanted to see if we could take care of them, but they didn't fit our parameters due to a death certificate not having been issued. So they talked with their legal counsel, which is the AG, and their legal counsel came back with basically we need to flip the viability issue with the 12-week issue.
Can I interrupt you for just a second?
Yes.
In either the old policy or this new policy, what you're talking about, where is it located?
I'm sorry?
You have a new policy that's attached and an old policy that's attached.
Right.
The issue that you're now discussing, where is that covered in these policies? I'm trying to find it in this policy and I'm not having
okay.
it. And
So where I'm headed with it is and I think you've seen what the opinion that the AG wrote. I think it came to your offices. But basically what they said was you don't need to address that. You need to address, you need to go by the 12 weeks gestation. So it basically negated the need to put those parameters in policy because the reason that they were in to begin with goes away with this, and it's just the 12 weeks.
let me interrupt one more time. Am I the only one that's a little bit lost?
I am extremely lost.
Okay, sorry.
Did you say it was a AG's opinion or an ADA opinion that should have come to our offices?
It was an AG's opinion. It was requested on the medical examiner side through their legal counsel.
And when would it have been delivered to the office? Because I apologize, I've not seen this.
Sorry, it was addressed to the commissioner's offices, so I thought that each commissioner's office had it. I got it from Michael. It didn't come directly to our office, but routed through, and we got it from Michael. But I have copies of it.
Yeah, can you
Yeah.
please?
Sorry about that.
That'll help.
Well, this is, at any rate, Joe, you're probably going to be a lot like me. You're going to want to look at both of these pretty extensively before we
I
even make a
wanna read,
decision.
yeah.
I'm not making a decision on this today, that's for sure, so. I'm not. Oh, yeah. Okay, so this isn't
an AG's opinion. It's the letter from the council that represents the medical examiner.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is this,
The assistant attorney general.
Right, just much like, I assume it's much like here that when Aaron
I
sends
just
something.
used the wrong term.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Do you need a decision on this today?
I don't specifically need a decision on this today. No. No, you can take time with it.
Well,
What
in the question of this letter, the body of the child was taken care of, right?
Yes.
All right, so we continue to move forward in that same manner until we update the policy.
Yeah, this gave us enough to be able to proceed with what they had in front of them. And in the end, what this will end up being is just the removal of the reference to gestational age because it's really no longer necessary, or to go ahead and include it and just show the 12 weeks. We could go either way with it. But I thought that this had come through all of your offices. So sorry about that.
All right, let's move item 6 to next regular P&G meeting.
I also need to let you know what the other change is that I wanted to make you aware of, so you can be pondering that as well, if that's all right.
In this policy? Okay.
Yes. The other part really relates to veterans. There's not a good system in place right now for veterans. We try to determine whether a person was a veteran, but part of that process means that we're going through the VA to get that determination, and it takes longer than what we have to get started on something. So we're working with the VA, trying to streamline the process, and the policy opens up a little bit in regards to that. The way that they work right now, our interest is in making sure that the veterans are able to be buried, to have their ashes buried in one of the national cemeteries. So we're working on two things. We're working on identifying past ones where we still have ashes on a shelf at a cemetery that we can get to that national cemetery, and also for moving forward to having a better system with the VA so that they can respond more quickly and move on the front end and see if there's a means for the VA to. Right now, if an eligible veteran dies in the VA hospital, they have arrangements with funeral homes and they take care of those. There's a gap for those who we tend to see, which are those who are homeless and or unclaimed, and there's really nobody to see to them. A lot of times we don't have a way to know that in time to get them moving in the right direction. So we're trying to facilitate that process with them, and also to see if there's a possibility that they would have something in place where they could take them on the front end should that be possible through their organization. But if not, what they're proposing is that for right now, we go ahead and proceed. And then if we find that it's a veteran, or if we even proceed knowing it's a veteran, that we then make application with them after the fact, and that they would reimburse us up to a certain amount for that. So we're not defining all of that very specifically in policy. We're just trying to open it up enough so that as we're working through this, because it could take some time, that we have the ability to go either way on that. It's right now we may not get a response at all when we request about the status, or it may take so long that we can't wait to get an answer back and before we go ahead and proceed. So we're working with them on a few fronts, just trying to.
And that's to go to the National Cemetery. Do we have any with the state? There's a state veteran cemetery. Do we work with them at all?
Yeah, there are 3 here.
So everything you just mentioned about the national process in this policy, do we do that with the state as well?
I think it may be another terminology issue. The VA cemeteries that are, I think there are 3 in this state, but everything with them is referred to at a national level.
Right. And what I'm also saying, at the state level, there are state veteran cemeteries.
So any of those.
What I'm asking, so we can bury those veterans at those locations as well?
If we can get all of these processes worked out.
Mr. Taylor, I think Michael might be asking, your policy, both policies, specifically mention national cemeteries. Michael, I believe, is pointing out that we have state veteran cemeteries that are not located in Oklahoma County. Your policy makes an exception. Generally, the policy is you must be buried or cremated, your ashes placed here in Oklahoma County, correct?
Correct.
So the national cemeteries, there's an exception for those being outside of Oklahoma County. I think that's probably where Michael's trying to get to.
Okay.
Do we need to identify state
That we need to, okay.
veteran cemeteries, also that exemption for outside of Oklahoma County? Is that kind of what you were getting at?
Well, we have one here in Oklahoma.
Okay.
State Veterans Cemetery.
Okay, so if we have one, but if there are others.
Well, and if
So
the
what
big
we-
issue is getting reimbursed, it's one thing. But if we're not getting any movement from the Veterans Administration, why not go to the ODVA and work forward through their processes with the state cemeteries?
That's part of the next step that we have. We're talking with them constantly on the phone and by email and setting up meetings and next steps. So yeah,
If we know enough to search for them being a veteran and we can get their paperwork, there's a lot of the funeral homes that will do this for free. I mean, they'll do the burials, they'll do the cremations. They're not necessarily charging for it. So I mean, like Dignity, they're one of them that does at a largely reduced and free headstones, those types of things if you qualify. So I would think that our poor and the indigent would qualify for this. So I'm not sure what it is that the county needs to be.
we work with those situations as they occur. And like I said, we don't always know on the front end. So that depends, I guess, on the funeral home, and some do and some don't. But the ones who do that, then yes, absolutely.
Most of the homeless individuals that we deal with on a regular basis. They've checked in with Homeless Alliance, and one of the first things the Homeless Alliance does is ask about veterans benefits, Social Security benefits, etc. Correct?
Not necessarily. As far as ones that come through us for cremation, we may or may not have ever seen them in a system before.
Okay.
But we check that. It's one of the first things that we check to see if via the hospital or the Homeless Alliance or any other organization that they have worked with, to see if we can get that information.
So typically through that, we're going to know that they're on the veteran aspect. We're going to know. Well, sounds like there's a lot more research and questions to be asked, probably from each one of us up here to Christy in the upcoming weeks. So, including finding the AG's opinion that we're referencing here.
All right, we're going to defer this to September. Move to defer.
Second.
Can you hit your button?
Thank you.
It'll pop up here.
Question.
Second. There we go. You got a motion in a second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right, we've been all over this agenda, so where are we at? Back to 2?
It would be
We
three.
need to do 3 or 4.
Pardon?
We haven't, I think their report would be 3,
Yeah.
right? The status report. What we were doing when we stopped would be under 3 rather than 2. We haven't done item 4.
Well, does that, are there people in the audience waiting for item 4, or are we at the point where we're reviewing projects?
You got it.
Where we at the point for a recess.
All right, I entertain a motion to recess.
No, I said, are we at that?
Yeah, we are.
Okay. How long do you want?
At least 15 minutes, and I gotta find a candy bar that's cheaper than $1.75. I know that's large ask to ask during this recess.
Recess for 15 minutes for Mr. Taylor to find his candy bar.
Sweet. Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Or get the mic.
Left to nowhere.
Yeah.
Thank you for indulging me. Entertain a motion to return to a regular session of policy. Motion is second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. I'm good for another hour.
I'm good for 47 minutes.
Okay. I guess we're on item 4. Did you say 47 minutes?
Except for,
Okay. Yeah, so we're on 4?
do we do 3?
Well, we're going back and forth, but before the recess, we discussed possibly reviewing item 4.
Okay, so real quickly, as you know, I think when the board considered the bond, one of the things that was mentioned up on the horseshoe was the possibility of a citizens advisory board. I think Commissioner Mon had said that he would start looking at that. I'm pretty sure probably, Michael, you have. I just wanted to get something on here for us to begin a discussion. One of the things that I'd kind of like to at least get an idea of today is the composition of the board in terms of how many members. I'm thinking 7.
We already did that. We did that on BOCC.
Did we did that done on BOCC? Okay, great.
Yeah, and we said 7 on BOCC.
Might have been the day I was gone. I know.
That's correct.
Okay. And then, does anyone have a draft of a document that they're working on? I'm assuming a good starting point would be something from maps. I actually have looked at that.
2 versions of maps that I've been looking at. I think Michael's probably got the same, and that's just the Citizen Advisory Board oversight. One of them's from the most recent maps, and I believe the other one I've got is from the original maps. And I'm just looking to see what the difference was to kind of get some sort of idea of where they had issues arise that they were able to fix.
Yeah, so are we all going to bring individual documents to look at, or we want to appoint one of the 3 of us to, and it sounds like you're a little bit further ahead, Miles or Michael, to bring a document so that we at least have something to look at?
I mean, I can bring you the 1 and 4. 1 and 4 makes what it is. If you'd like to see it, I'll email it to them and they can email it out. As far as the maps, it's the CAB.
I guess what I'm asking is somebody going to draft a document for us to?
I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, I will review that and have something for September.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. Okay. That's it.
All right, that takes care of 4. We're back up to
3.
item 3.
Start from the beginning.
Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
All right. So kind of as we discussed, we are going to kind of move past the yellow ones, I think, right now, and address just the purple ones, since there's been some ongoing conversation on these.
And remind me what yellow is.
So it's going to be the salary and benefits request, so payroll and benefits, or premium pay, one or the other.
All right, fair enough.
Again, these are items you guys have seen, except for maybe the last one, which is our social services item. So you have seen these Esri enterprise agreement requests previously. I see Miles's face. Y'all approved it as free last time, yes. But it is for a different subset of activities. So this would be through the county assessor's office, and is used for geographic approaching, prioritizing projects and spending information. It's about $1 million, but it is for, like, it's covered through the technology enhancement, and is can be for programs anywhere from affordable housing, broadband access, and things like that. It helps kind of get an understanding of the area, and then prioritize it based on specific needs or uses, and it has a lot of opportunities to be used to make public impact and community impact.
Well, hold on to that subject matter because the assessor approached BOCC yesterday. Was there not a dollar amount to that? Does anyone remember?
So the Esri contract that was approved yesterday was a split between, Cody, that was split between budget, our general fund budget, and they paid for half of it. And I want to say it was like 330 or something that we split.
Yeah, they're paying for a portion from their special account, and then
Right.
there's another portion for general fund for all departments. I believe this item is one that has already been funded. This would just be a reimbursement for those dollar amounts.
Yeah, that's a cute box that says previously budgeted.
Yes. Yeah, it should be about 325, I think, a year on that.
Okay, so that's what we voted on literally yesterday. What's the contract?
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
And as far as what exactly, this is just
This-
us reimbursing ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Okay.
it would be 325,000 or whatever yesterday's amount was, and then setting aside funds
Yes.
going forward. And yeah, I'm not there yet.
Yesterday's was 330 with a split of 140 and 190. That's what.
Right, and out of appropriated funds from our either ad valorem base budget or the assessor's fees.
Yeah, and I forget which one of their fees they were pulling it from. Does it say in that item what they were pulling it from?
My preference would be we just leave this in the pending category.
Okay, we're gonna move on.
Probably
Okay.
resale or something. No, resale's Freeman.
This one is for the Stormwater Master Drainage Plan. So this would help evaluate the unincorporated portions of the county and serve as the guide for the next 30 years.
With regard to this one, got the infrastructure bill that passed. I don't know if the Inflation Act or whatever it's called, but are there other potential pots of money available that we could chase?
So it could come out of the IIJA potentially. There are caveats with that, whereas the county received the ARPA dollars directly. Those funds will go through the state. Yeah, so there's no guarantee that it will trickle down to the county or that you'll be able to request per item. They may do a lump sum, it's hard to say. And a lot of that requirements is actually still coming down from the federal government as well.
And
So
then there's-
potentially, but maybe not.
There's also the potential that they could revise and do a direct allocation, right? Congress could take,
I suppose they could, yeah.
yeah, I
It's
would.
on the president's desk today. to
Is it
be
today? Oh,
signed.
okay. Well,
I'm pretty sure.
I would like to
I don't think it's gonna-
see us chase that money
Yeah, I
elsewhere.
don't have any problem chasing other pots of funds.
I think
Well,
that's
so
sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I think that those dollars are things that we've talked about in the past that might be a good idea for the county to look into grant writers for as well.
Yes, I think that's a really good idea. And I appreciate you mentioning that again, so.
All right, with that note, I'm gonna, just to help alleviate $3 million, can we, take action to possibly archive project 10006?
I'm a no on that until we know that we can fund it through another form. Do we chase it? Yes.
Well,
Hell,
We
it's-
can
out
leave
of
it
all these
pending.
projects in front of us, I think this would definitely be one that would be under the infrastructure category. But if you want to, I guess, what did we do with the last project?
We took no action on it.
All right, we'll take no action on this.
This is for the annex asbestos abatement that we have discussed. This is for fireproofing removal that was done and the asbestos that has to be removed in that process as well. This will go in partnership with some HVAC updates as well, since it all runs within that same system.
Okay.
This is for security, transportation, and field operations vehicles for the Juvenile Bureau. This is for 3 different cars, 2 of them being the same model and 1 being a little bit more advanced model. This would help in transporting any of the inmates to and from appointments that they may have, mental health appointments they may have, and things like that as well. And the cars will be equipped with separate heat and ventilation systems, heating and air, to help prevent the spread of COVID as well.
I'll make a motion that we approve item 10016 as a recommendation to BOCC.
There's a note here from you all. The proposal may not be eligible.
Where do you see that?
It's just below the bullet points, Miles, there on the right.
So we have looked into the different ways that other counties have funded opportunities like this, and most of them are doing it through revenue replacement. And so that is a little bit more difficult for this county. However, because of the highlight between the separate heat and air ventilation systems, we do think it'll be eligible. The reason we call it out is because it's not specifically laid out in final rule as an eligible expense. But as y'all have heard me say before, that also means it's not ineligible. And so it's one of the ones we just wanted county buy-in on and make sure you guys were okay with our justifications on it, but not seeing concerns on moving it forward using the separate ventilation systems.
And I'm not necessarily opposed, but Jamie, generally, doesn't the sheriff's office do your transportation?
They do not do transportation to and from doctors' appointments, counseling appointments, mental health things. They would come pick up a youthful offender and take them to court if they're going downtown.
And then of those services that you mentioned, I thought a lot of those were done on site. I mean, I recognize there's a need to take beyond some of the medical care that you provide, but.
Yeah, we have 2 LPNs and 1 part-time LPN. We don't have a doctor there. She comes once a week. We can call her, but we are very limited as to what medical services we provide.
Okay.
And this is the total number for the 3 cars. It is not individual per car. This is the total number.
Is this the same, are these the same vehicles that the sheriff's?
No, they have similar equipment in terms of the separate heat and air ventilation, mitigation, prevention process, but 2 are Chevy Traverse, and they're like 32,600 something each, and 1 is a Suburban, and that might be what they ordered. I'm not sure.
My recollection from the conversation regarding the sheriff's units were that those were basically sole sourced. There wasn't another vehicle like that. I don't know that to be 100% accurate, but do you mind to double check that? I don't want to approve something that is not.
At the time, that was correct.
Okay. Are we
in our post-COVID
everybody's
world,
rushed to put something into production?
Yeah, and they have done it across make and model to do this type of thing. So Chevy or General Motors has kind of led the way with the whole thing. They saw across the country the justification for the Tahoes because we were not the only ones that did that. So they took that and trickled that down to their whole what would you call it, public service fleet.
May I show you the quote?
No, this isn't a judge's.
Because, I mean, it outlines specifically on.
Is it outlined in there?
Yes.
Okay.
With that, I will second that item. We have a motion and second to recommend to the BOCC Project 10016, the vehicles for Juvenile Bureau. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
That is so long as the proper paperwork and documentation of the separate justification for
Yeah.
ventilation is
Yes.
right. Otherwise, I'm going to vote no.
We have those quotes from Jamie already. She submitted them in our system when she submitted the proposal on the front side.
Okay. All right. I'm a yes.
Very well organized. This is for the 4th floor remodel for the court clerk. This would be remodeling kind of top to bottom. I've included in a couple of emails to you guys some of the things that are required within this, and it is things so far as relocation costs. There are electrical costs, lighting costs, the floor, panelings. It kind of covers all of those things, and we are looking at the $8.4 million amount for that.
And this was a project that initially was presented as a $4.8 million project.
So we had a duplicate project that was submitted from the engineering department, and it was, I think, actually 3 or 4. Yeah, it was about half the cost. But after further conversations with the court clerk's office, with Keith, and with engineering, this is kind of the number we have come to. We don't have it formally submitted as a quote from a vendor, but these are just from conversations we had, and then from touring the facility with Keith as well. He walked us through each of those items.
Yeah, there's a per square foot cost. But so I like the idea of using the money to remodel and do what we can to keep our employees safe. I want to look at it more holistically than just one floor. 3rd floor needs some help as well. And in the same sense, I guess it would be 3rd, 4th, and 5th are the only ones that we haven't addressed as of yet. So I don't know about the 8.4 number, but I'd like to look at it a little bit more in depth than just one floor. So.
Well, and as far as the annex goes, we've been working with the various TIFs and getting reimbursement. Does anyone recall how much money we got reimbursed on any particular TIF? Was it 2, 3, 4 million? Because I know there were several projects amongst each one of those projects.
Our latest, most recent TIF request, I want to say we shot for the moon or shot for Mars and landed on the moon. I think when we right at 6 million, like 5.8 million is what we got approved for, but we asked for 8.
I think it's that.
But those projects are elevators. I don't recall what all those projects were. Some of it was for downstairs.
So here's another consideration, and I had mentioned, and I think we were all in agreement, taking a look at all of our infrastructure-related items and improving them kind of as a slate in this piecemeal approach. And Miles, you're right. This building has, as soon as we do one space, then somebody else is going to want to do something else. But beyond that, I'm greatly concerned that we're going to approve all these projects and not be able to get them done within the time frame of the bill.
Yeah, that's one of the big questions I had, and that was my first and foremost is I didn't want it done in-house to remove Keith and his folks away from being able to do their daily jobs. I think that's huge. One, it slows us down on multiple projects, and it keeps them from actually fixing issues. So in my mind, I like the putting them all together as far as an infrastructure, totalitarian project. But it has to be, in my mind, it has to be contracted out, and it
Well-
has to have a timeline on it. And if that timeline cannot be met,
Which brings up another point, right?
Have
We're,
issues.
we're making these recommendations, but to my knowledge, we're not even on the street for some of these projects. Right? So that's another 90 days or so. And then opening the bids. And then, you know, whether it's this project that we're discussing or any of these other projects, I'm beginning to think that, you know, we've got an item, or it was just discussed about the city of Oklahoma City perhaps serving as our project manager for construction of the jail. I'm beginning, much like you said, to not take away from Keith, think that one of the services that we need to go out and look at is a construction owner's rep on these types of projects too.
yeah, so CM at risk or owner's rep or something similar. I think even our CM at risk statutes aren't really putting the construction manager at risk, honestly.
Yeah.
They're pretty weak. So, yeah, I think that's a great idea. If we got that many projects going, and taking it and moving it out of the engineer's office and kind of that conglomeration of engineer and Keith's office, I think is an excellent idea, and putting it into one person's court. So I'm all for it.
So what I heard, I think I heard you say is you'd like a little more information, not only on this one, but on
Yeah,
possibly others.
I'd like to see them put together as one large project, honestly.
Okay, yeah, originally we had broken them up to see if there was things you did not want to move forward with. I know we'll have the jury pavilion and the annex front entrance and things like that, so we can bundle those.
Okay.
Well, the front entrance here is already in place since yesterday.
Right.
We can still put it together when we submit it to Treasury.
Yeah.
They can all go together, and then you can bid them together if you wanted to.
Yeah. It can work that way.
Okay, I won't have to worry about it. I'll be retired by then. All right. Any more on this item, or can we move on? Is this deferred?
Okay.
Just no action, right?
Yeah. No action.
Okay.
Right.
This is for the jury pavilion, so this is something that you would likely want to bundle with that as well. And it is to help prevent kind of keeping the jury from having to line up through the underground tunnels and in the building and things like that as well. So it creates a pavilion in the outside corridor so that people can wait there in comfort and socially distanced. This is for GIS mapping. The county clerk's office would like to use this for public facing. This is allowing the public to enter like land ID numbers and parcel ID numbers to locate different properties. And then the county can actually, they've been using this to some degree to do some of the land assessments as well. So this would be public facing and individuals can search on it specifically for the parcel or the land that they would like to view and pull documentation up on.
Was this a one-time spend, or was this an annual spend?
This is a one-time cost. It's a system they already have, and so this is covering a specific piece of that.
It's like a module.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no.
All right, move on.
This is premium pay. We'll scoot. Salary and benefits, premium pay, they were all right there. So this one is for the county clerk's office, the live chat. So this allows for the continuation of the live chat feature, which allows for your constituents and the public to chat with the clerk's office remotely through a chat box. And the staff is able to respond that way. They don't even have to do it via phone. They're able to just do it on their computer, and prevents from people having to come into the office and kind of line up and be all congregated in one area looking for information. So this would be an ongoing cost potentially.
Okay. This one sounds like similar to one we archived last go around.
It may.
I'm gonna move to archive this project 10049.
Mr. Taylor, would you accept a friendly to also include the project 10041 in the archive?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Project 10049 and project 10041, move it to the archives.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, this one was for laptops. This would be for the purchase of 100 laptops to enable remote working.
Yeah, we bought laptops under CARES, so. I'll move to archive 10050.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to archive project 10050. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
This is for meeting room upgrades. These were costs that have already been incurred, so this would be a reimbursement on these. And this was for expanding audio and visual capabilities in order to do live video streaming, to allow people to stream in, kind of like we've done before. So this is for those types of upgrades. They're all technology upgrades. It includes wireless audio, video enhancements, and things like that.
Being previously budgeted, is this something that we would, if approved, send funds back to general fund?
Yes, I would think yes.
And this request is for reimbursement is specifically related to the time frame allowable under the ARPA?
Yes, we have the submission from the county clerk's office on what was ordered. We have it basically itemized, actually.
Yeah.
So I'll make the motion to approve or to recommend to BOCC the reimbursement to general fund for item 10051 at the amount of $86,388 for meeting room upgrades.
Miles,
Yeah.
what if they used special revenue? Why don't we wait
I didn't even think about
and
that.
get clarification for next time as to what revenue sources were used?
Came from. If I recall correctly, didn't we ask them to mark that down in their application? Isn't that in their application of where the funds were? We didn't. Yeah.
It was in the application if it was already a cost incurred by the county, but we didn't drill it down to a specific level like that.
So I'll withdraw the motion. That might be something that we want to look at on every single one of these.
Okay.
Whether it was paid for out of special funds or if it was paid for out of general operational accounts. So is that something that we could take the remaining items and just submit to the original people that submitted them and ask them real quick?
Yes. Yeah, we
Okay.
can reach out to each of the point of contact for each office and ask them that
There
question.
we go. That way, Joe, we won't have to ask every single time.
Right.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Good point.
All right, that one, no action.
All right. This is for the electronic online certification project that's going on in the county clerk's office. So this allows citizens and businesses to remotely print digital certified copies. So kind of same thing. They don't have to come into the building in order to get these documents. They're able to order all of it online and print it that way. And this is also, I believe, since it's a previously budgeted cost, something that would be reimbursed.
Yeah, we'll leave that one on there as a no action until we know where it was paid from.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
The citizen participation and engagement model from the county clerk's office connects all of the online services together and presents them to the citizens in an online customer portal. So they're able to search for information or services seamlessly through this portal.
We don't have this, I don't know if anybody, I don't see Dana Rich, the ability to do this through our infrastructure now.
Well, I thought that was part of. our licensing for the multiple online meeting platforms that we purchased through CARES funds, but well, in fact, I mean, whatever it was, they were able to make all sorts of comments and everything. So,
Archive or let set, but
second,
which one do you want?
what was your?
I think he
All
said
I heard
sit
was
and
archive.
archive.
Archive or set? What do you want to do? I mean, a lot of these, no offense to the clerk's office, but they're things that they've already started. They've paid for already. You know, they have records preservation. I don't know where all the funding comes from, but
And this is a subscription-based model, is our understanding, so there would be an ongoing cost.
Danny.
Oh, Danny's here.
You're asked to the mic if you're wanting to comment on any of the last 13 minutes worth of stuff. Okay, this item before us, engagement model. There's been discussion that maybe we already have this in some form or fashion.
Let me check here, see which item we're talking about. This is one that we do not currently have, so this would be a new project, yeah.
With an annual rate of 75,000.
Correct.
and so Danny, assuming we were to recommend this project,
Right,
it's a future ongoing cost.
that is correct.
Where would it come from?
This particular one could come out of our Records Preservation Fund, Special Revenue Fund.
And does that fund allow for this expense
does.
now?
It does.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
I think there was a question also about the meeting room upgrades, where that money was spent, or have
From.
you, where it was
From.
spent from?
Yeah.
We use some general fund dollars, some, and the rest out of our special revenue funds.
I think, so what we did was, what we asked the consultants to do is to reach out to all the offices to find out what that breakdown is, where those funds came from, so
Correct.
we can act accordingly. It's something we should have asked in the original, but
Yeah.
didn't think about it until
Sure.
Joe just brought it up, honestly. So,
Okay.
and it'll help immensely
Absolutely. Okay.
going forward.
Yeah, we're happy to provide it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Danny.
So the motion on this was one or the other.
A lot of those I would archive. But if you guys want to leave them and
We can-
wait on that information and stuff.
Well, in this particular item, I believe he said could come out of preservation fund, which I think's probably a better place for this item to come out of.
So archive
Second.
10059.
This was the radio project that we moved forward earlier.
We gotta make action on one.
Sorry,
No, you're all right.
getting ahead of
We're
you.
just,
Shoot.
all right, we got a motion and a second to archive project 10059. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you.
Again, this is just the radio project that was approved this morning. Did you have a comment? No? Okay. This is for the Oklahoma County Drainage Culvert Inventory. So this is different than the previous one we just discussed about the unincorporated parts of the county. So this is specifically for addressing deteriorating culverts and drainage structures.
Yeah, my comments would be the same on this. Get a grant, like you said, get a grant writer and chase other funds. So I don't want to take any action on it.
Salary and benefits, salary and benefits. This is for the roof replacement of the detention center. And last time Miles had asked if this included the laddering for side work that may need to be done. And I did meet with Mandy, and it does not.
And this is still something that you feel is coverable?
Yeah, because it is leaking, the roof leaks are leaking into their HVAC system, into the medical facility. It prevents a public health issue.
Then I'll make the motion to recommend to BOCC the approval of 10074 Detention Center roof replacement at $400,000.
And it didn't include what items, did you say?
It did not include ladder work for the sides of the building.
So what I had originally, when the building, another one of the brilliant designs of the building of whomever built it, they did not provide the ability to go over the sides with roof anchors for the individuals to do work on the side of the building. So as bricks, glass block, whatever is punched out of the side of the building, the original designers did not put the ability to essentially hang over the side in the same way that window washers, et cetera, do. So, I mean, with this roof, it definitely needs it. I know they've patched it numerous times. We had replaced it at one point. The people that were supposed to warranty it are no longer in business, no longer around. But seeing as how this is leaking into medical, and we've got all sorts of other issues in HVAC that we need to protect, and the investments there, we should spend a small amount of $400,000 comparatively and protect those investments. So, but
I'm lost.
I do want.
Didn't we approved almost $1 million yesterday for a roof at JJC?
Okay.
Is that not?
That's for the Juvenile Bureau.
Yeah. So this is.
Wasn't the entire complex. So why weren't they done together?
Is different. So this is, I don't know why. I can't tell you why. I do know that this isn't a entire replacement. This is, so if you think of the roof as like a swimming pool, we're replacing the sidewalls and the cap, is my understanding. I could be incorrect about that. Does it say on there?
It does not say in our little description.
Okay. But the metal flashing and a bunch of the stuff that's on the sides are what had been blown up and blown off.
I'm sorry. I said.
You're fine.
Juvenile. I apologize.
Oh, I see what you're.
Yeah.
You were thinking this was part of that.
All right, we talked that one. Got a motion. I'll second it. Item 10074, Detention Center roof replacement for $400,000. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Before I vote, Miles, we had this conversation last time. These detention center projects, where are the funds staying?
They stay here.
So
that was my understanding, is that we essentially act as the CM. Does that make sense?
That gives me a little.
Because we're still the landlord of the building.
That gives me a little more comfort.
Us being the landlord is what we have to maintain that building. And and quite frankly, it's the commissioners that are responsible for the investment, the original $30 million investment by the public. So,
well,
and the initial or the extra.
I want more information.
Next item.
This is for the new elevators in the detention center, and last time there had been some question as to why this cost was a little bit more expensive, well, quite a bit more expensive than the replacements going on in the juvenile bureau, and a lot of that has to do with the height of the building. It's a much taller building than the juvenile bureau's building, and is a more thorough replacement of the entire systems, whereas the juvenile bureau's was more upgrades related. So this would be a replacement of all of those, and it would go all the way through to the 13th floor.
I haven't had a chance to talk to him about this. And
Well, and one of the issues I'll just tell you I'm having as we're talking about things, significant investments into the detention center. I'm caught between, yes, there's a need to upgrade and update and take care of things, but we're also going to be vacating that building and trying to strike a balance between the two of those is, unless we can rip out $3.6 million worth of elevators and install them someplace else.
I'm very hopeful that we won't need elevators in the new place.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Right.
yes.
It's that.
Yeah. I'm in no action on this one for now.
Okay.
But that's just me.
How much longer we got you for, Jeff?
We should have been gone 3 minutes ago, right? I think that was my 47 minutes, wasn't it?
Yeah. I was trying to help.
I appreciate
Now
it.
this is the lower
Yes.
roof, which is the roof over the front entrance and everything. So I'll make a motion that we recommend to BOCC item 10078 detention center sealing the existing metal roof at $25,000,
Before,
and we hold that money here.
one question.
Yeah.
This related to even the other roof. Does anybody know how much carryover they had from what the county had appropriated them out of their?
Oh, not off the top of my head, but it was, didn't they pretty much spend flat this last go around, Cody? In their BET when they presented, it seems like they were pretty zeroed out.
Well, they were operating off of previous year labs as well. I think they had said at one point they thought maybe 1.5 million rollover, but we got 2 or 3 different numbers on that. I've not seen a final number. At one point, I think something said 1.9 million, and then 1.5. And
Yeah,
I don't know that we have a final number. I asked Danny Lambert a week and a half ago, and at that time, Danny said he should have that number pretty soon, but at the time he didn't have it.
Because if I recall correctly, they were taking that, they were using that for the additional incurred cost on some of the things, like medical increase and some of the other stuff. Doesn't that sound right?
I think what I heard Cody say is their numbers have changed multiple times.
Yeah.
So
It's been about a $400,000.
yeah. That being said, any of these detention things, I think I want to wait. I'm not gonna.
Well, this is just for the structure. It's
I
not
get
their
it.
operating budget.
I
This is
get
the
it,
building
but
we're responsible for,
right, but that's
and we're holding the money.
the money that goes down there is money that stays there and doesn't come back to us. Right. Once we send money down there,
This is to stay here. So this will be like
there are
like the
certain.
previous. We'll be construction our own CM.
I get it.
If that was a motion for project 10078, I will second the detention center ceiling
Of existing metal roof.
existing metal roof for 25,000. All those in favor say aye.
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 This is for the network infrastructure upgrade at the detention center. So this is including the continuation of remote meeting capabilities by addressing network traffic and volume sustainability. The additional technology was procured during COVID to establish reliable video and visitation functionality.
So this is a reimbursement or?
So this funding would allow for it's a reimbursement for those particular pieces, but then this funding also allows for updating the camera system with contact tracing analytics, and that would be a new cost.
So this is similar to the red dot system that we're looking.
This is a reimbursement?
The camera piece would not be. The camera piece would be new.
And the camera piece is
going to be the significant portion of the cost.
So on this one, can you shoot them the breakdown of the cost and what's reimbursable and what isn't? Same as the others. Thank you.
And then I'd almost go the next step, assuming this is a product that can last longer than the 4 to 5 years they're going to be in there, if it can be removed and utilized in other facilities.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then after that, no action at this time.
Okay. This is another system update. So this would be kind of breaking it out. If you only wanted to cover the camera upgrades, this breaks that out. And so that this allows to include that COVID-19 contact tracing. So it's if you wanted to break it out on its own. But we can follow up with those same questions before moving it with this at either direction.
But this is an upgrade or this is a reimbursement?
I believe this would be the upgrade. But we can connect with Mandy on if they would be able to remove them and things like that as well. So we'll carry those questions over.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
This is for specific to COVID-19 testing. So they test all new inmates, and so this one is for $171,000 for that COVID testing. And I believe as well that this would be a reimbursement because these are tests that have already been purchased. One of the new items that we received on Friday or Monday is also related to COVID testing, but it is projecting forward. So this is looking backwards, and the new one will be looking forward.
So the same question on this is, if this is reimbursable, then
come back to county
reimburse
general.
ourselves to the county. And same thing with any future. So if you could just,
Yeah, this one's previously budgeted, so it should come back, but we can verify.
Perfect, thank you.
This was for PPE. This would also be a reimbursement since it's from September of 2021 to April of 2022.
Okay.
This is related to the quarantine pod that they are operating, and it just runs from January to May of 2022. And so this is where all of the new inmates are housed when they come into the county jail in order to prevent the spread of COVID. And when they come into these units, there are new services provided, such as 100 new mats, new sheets, new clothing, new blankets, and things like that. So this would help cover some of those costs.
Okay.
This was payroll for the detention center. This is the live scan fingerprint. This is a reimbursement as well. Again, we can find out which fund it comes from, but this is the machine that they use to expedite the intake process. So when the individuals come in, they're able to just do the fingerprint. The officers don't have to touch their hands and kind of guide them through that process, so it helps with distancing as well.
It's the same we bought for JJC.
This is a similar in vein for the full body scanner. This prevents having to do a physical pat down. So the individual stands on the scanner, it slides in, kind of runs like you do at an airport, and then comes back out, and then they've done the full body scan before they take them into the jail.
Isn't this, can you find out if this is a reimbursement?
It is, I believe it is.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, these two are both reimbursements, and we've seen them in use. So they're already in the facility and things like that.
Let's make sure it's the same one that I've seen.
Yep. This is a one-time cost for deep cleaning. They are likely to have completed it by now. When they originally submitted the request, it was supposed to be happening in the next several months. And when I spoke with Mandy 2 trips ago when we were here, they were in the process of getting that finished up. So this would reimburse now at this point for the deep cleaning of the facility. They brought in an outside crew to clean. This is premium pay. I believe this is our last one. This is our newest one that we have on our presentation today as well. It was from Social Services about the homeless navigator. So this would help to bring an individual into the office on a part-time basis that would help run the program for 30 months with potential of renewal if the county sees good metrics with the system. So the homeless navigator would work with the unhoused community to help them request necessary documentation through vital statistics like their birth certificates and other vital records. A lot of the times this process is rather complicated because a homeless individual doesn't have a identification card, and in order to order a birth certificate you need a physical driver's license or some form of identification, and since they don't have, in order to get an ID, at least in the state of Texas, I worked in vital statistics in Texas. I believe the standards are all about the same. You need 3 supporting documentation pieces in order to obtain a license or an identification card on the first place. To her point earlier, most of our homeless individuals do not have any form of documentation. So it's quite the process to get all of that from anywhere, whether you work with county partners or you work with Goodwill or whatever. It kind of goes through a process to get those 3. Then you submit for the ID, it gets into you, and then you can submit for a birth certificate. And in many cases, if someone cannot verify their birth in order to get the ID, you have to go through a court system to get it. So this would bring someone in to help navigate that process, as it's very meticulous and somewhat discouraging.
And you said that was a part-time employee for 30 months?
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of 30 months, they are going to...
If there is will within the county to continue the service, they would. But if not, yes, the program would end.
And then I would assume, given the myriad of grants that are out there that we don't take advantage of because we don't have a grant writer, that during that 30-month period, we could look for that as a solution as well.
Yeah, there could be a potential for that.
I'll move that we recommend 10097 to the board for their approval.
So this is one that I've got pretty good experience with not only Homeless Alliance and many of the other upward transitions and other homeless outreach individuals, that they all provide this service. I'm not sure that we need to overlap and be redundant. If anything, is there not a way that we could look at supporting those individuals that are already doing this work? I don't know that we need to bring somebody in-house more than we could just support those that are already doing it. So that would be my, I'm not saying that we don't have to do this. I'm telling you that I would like to see if we could support those that are already doing this function versus bringing somebody in.
Well, in all those groups, I always see that there's gaps between them. I don't have a problem with supplementing a part-time person. She might even have a full-time person in the house that can pick up these duties.
I think the program may have used to exist and then had to be done away with, and this may be an attempt to bring it back. And I think that it had good outcomes at that time, but then there were budget constraints.
Well, I'd like to know when we've had budget constraints and cut any of that.
Budget constraints or legal constraints? I don't know.
Legal, I could understand.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, brings up another whole question altogether. So to me, I would, seeing this for the first time, I'd like to look at it a little bit more.
All right, well, you got till next BOCC.
Sounds good.
All right, we have a motion, a second, for project 10097, 30-month homeless navigator for $62,527. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
And Miles, if you, you said you have worked closely with some of these other organizations. I think those would be good individuals to bring to our community engagement sessions. So if you could ping us contacts or just the names of those organizations, we can reach out.
Sounds good.
And that
But
takes
I
us
know
home.
Commissioner Bloomberg works, and her office works really close with them as well, so.
Perfect.
And then Mon's office has, their own set of individuals that they work with on the South Oklahoma City, so.
Very good. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you. Oh, I thought Jamie was coming up to talk to us.
All right. I think we've touched every agenda item. Am I mistaken?
Well, except for citizen participation.
Well,
Board
it
comments.
doesn't have a number, but I'll say any citizens, any board comments, D1, D3.
No, they.
Thank you for your time, everyone. Move to adjourn. Second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.